Dear trading community, things aren't looking too good at the moment when it comes to Bitcoin and the crypto market in general. The fear and greed index is still at extreme fear, which for me could indicate the possibility of a nearby bottom. Of course, that's not a given. You can only use it as an additional indication. Because when there's such strong fear in the market, there have regularly been at least minor recoveries in the past. And that's also the reason why you should be buying now rather than buying when everything is up here. I sold in this area here, you might remember. It was at the Bitcoin peaks, really in these zones, especially up here again at 124,000, 125,000. But at the moment, things really don't look good. A continuation of the price action, which is textbook by the way, unfortunately didn't trigger every Fibonacci level for me. This could very well continue like this. I'm still feeling bullish. I'll tell you again in a moment why, or actually I can show you right now. At this point, this Fibonacci level is still valid for me. We're currently bouncing a bit at the 0.5 Fibonacci level. At least for now, we're just below it, but I still have my eye on the 0.618 level where I will scale my position. I'll go through this on my chart in a moment, also on the stock exchange. What I don't really like at the moment is that yesterday's daily candle closed so low. We haven't seen a candle close that low since May of this year. So it's actually incredible that we stayed above it for such a long time, and now we've had a daily candle close below it. You have it below now. Before we continue with the analysis and the new positions I've entered into. I also took a few lost positions yesterday with XLM. I think I still got into SUI a bit, but we need to go through that again. Of course, I'll share all of this with you transparently. But I also secured a lot of positions at break even and was able to avoid quite a bit of loss that way. But I want to show you something, because for everyone who is on PIONEX, guys, PIONEX has just released something that lets you get incredibly good deposit bonuses, and not just for new customers, but also for existing users. That means everyone who signed up through my link has the opportunity to get up to $40,000 in trading bonuses and start a bot with it. I'll explain to you how that works, but $40,000 is a lot. Of course, you have to deposit $1 million. I'm considering whether to go for the $6,000 bonus. I hope I can do that since I'm a partner, but I'm not entirely sure. However, I was able to sign up. So if you want that, you have a link in the video description. You can click in here, then click on sign up, and then you have the opportunity, depending on how much you deposit, to receive a bonus here. If you haven't signed up yet, you can of course use my link, and then you'll also have the chance to participate here. Here you then have the option to choose between these two bots. There are two leverage bots provided by PIONEX, a 3x and a 5x leverage bot. I saw that the starting price is only at 104,000 US. If you invest now, the bot doesn't start immediately with this voucher, but only once the 104,000 US are reached, because these two bots are currently at a loss and would only start once the 104,000 US are reached. But it's valid for 90 days. So for 90 days, you can copy this bot here. And of course, you can also close them early. You can set a stop loss or a take profit. Or if you feel the profit is sufficient for you, you can also do that, close it manually and realize the profits. What's really awesome about PIONEX is, so it's for existing users, but also for new users. If you're not on board yet, you can definitely join, because I have to say, this is truly a very, very brilliant offer from PIONEX. But now back to Bitcoin. What does it look like? Let's quickly go through my positions so we can take a look at my open positions. I have an Ethereum long here. I was already able to double my position here, which means I now have a position of just under $9,000. Because I said it was a bit too small for me, I would quite like it if we went down again and picked something up here so I could add a new position. That's already happened by now, currently at a slight loss at this point in time. The short is still active. As I mentioned in one of my last videos, I went short and realized a bit of profit. The take profit is now also set. And then I still have my 5x Bitcoin position, which is now almost $23,000. But this position is waiting for another buy-in opportunity. That means I will double this position again if we reach $94,224. What kind of price is that? That's exactly my Fibonacci level. If we look in here and take this into account, we see 0.681 there. If the price should go there, then I'll go long one more time so that my average entry price ends up roughly in this area, and I'll have my entry price at around $97,500. That's what I like at the moment. At the 0.618 Fibonacci, we also have this volume level here, which is very, very interesting, where we can dip into. That means for everyone who isn't long, you might want to consider this. This is not investment advice. I want to make that clear right away. But in my opinion, if you want to have the lowest possible entry price, this wouldn't be unattractive. Because even when I turn on the VPVR, and we've talked about this and include it here as well, and you know the volume profile that we have. At this point in time, we have the last big bar here, or rather the last one up to the 0.681 level. This is a very, very interesting level, just from the volume profile alone, because there was a lot of trading here, and this is where the possibility of the last strong support for Bitcoin exists. Because if we should fall below this level here and confirm that drop, there is a period where we have significantly less volume until we reach this point. And that's something I definitely don't want to see happen. It could of course happen, but at the moment I'm still hopeful that we can hold exactly this support here. That would be super, super important. But that's what I'm speculating on with Bitcoin right now. At the moment, I'll probably skip the smaller trades. I do have some open on PIONEX. We'll take a look at that in a moment. I've gone long on Ethereum again at this point in time. It was really close here. So it was exactly with this candle that I at least managed to catch the local bottom with the candle close. But of course, it could still go further down here as well. Not only that, but where do I see a possibility for the reversal to go? Specifically, a possible bearish Fibonacci retracement level. That would be this blue line here up to 0.681. That's where I would immediately secure my position again. That would also be this, you can see here what I mean, this support level, which we then broke down through afterwards, which often gets retested if the price continues to drop. But I want to try to take advantage of this position for myself. Then I also have Litecoin. Litecoin is super stable and I really don't get it. We'll go through this in a moment at the start. That right now my long position, which I entered here and which was already in profit, but my stop loss hasn't been triggered yet. And the second position is still waiting to be picked up. But Litecoin is actually very strong, really, really surprising to me. And then I also have a Bitcoin position that's waiting here for another compounding position. That means I want to compound my open position here again. Why and for what reason? We'll go through that now in the liquidation heat map. We can see here on a 24-hour basis that new long volume has accumulated here after this dump. And I want to speculate here so that if we dip again, I can lower my average purchase price also with Bitcoin. That would then go to about the level of 99,000 to 98,000 roughly here. And here too, I see the possibility of a Fibonacci retracement, which would come into play here. That would at least be the 100,700 to 101,323 range. And here too, I could then secure my position or close it in profit. That's currently my approach with the smaller positions. It looks like that's about to be triggered as well. If we go further down, that's not a problem either. It's not much further to the 0.618 Fibonacci level. If we take a quick look at the liquidation map for Bitcoin on a daily basis, it's really wild to see. On a daily basis, there are now 4 billion above us, up to a price of around 100,000, 400,000, 5,000 US dollars. A lot has accumulated there. But what we don't see here, and that's very interesting, is of course everything that's above that. And there's really a lot above that. Let's switch to Model 3 where we can see this even better. Or we can just stick with Model 1 so we only see it on Binance and then look at the 1 month or the 3 month view. And that's where we have these accumulation levels I'm talking about. Here we have another 150 million and here almost another 180 million summed up. So in the individual positions, in total, it's almost 4 billion here. But the individual positions up here, which we don't see on this map because the price is currently too low and we're a bit limited here, we can see at 112,000 and 113,000. So in this price range, there's really a lot of liquidity, which in my opinion could be a very, very interesting level. Then I would also hedge my long-term positions a bit. At this point in time, of course, I have to be careful. It's also possible, and I want to point this out, that we go much further down and I lose something from my positions. So there is already a bit at stake here. We have 5,000 here, we have 2,000 here. So roughly speaking, in all my positions, I currently have 10,000 in margin open. And that's something you mustn't forget. So I'm speculating, I'm really only speculating right now because we've already had exactly the same scenario here once before. As I've already shown several times, even this strong correction when no one believed anything would happen with Bitcoin anymore. We went into the 0.5 Fibonacci, then again, and then a bit deeper. That was a zone that was really, really frustrating. And after that, there was just a really strong breakout with exactly the same things. We had a bearish divergence correction to the downside here. We now have a bearish divergence correction down to the 0.5 or possibly the 0.618 Fibonacci level. And that's exactly what I'm aiming for now. Regarding my loss positions, because of course I share those with you as well, that's again the case. Position in Litecoin, the last trade, I still find it absolutely brilliant to this day. Take profit was hit, record crash, that was really crazy. But Litecoin, if we look at it now, you can see it's actually very stable at this point in time, though that can change at any moment. XLM, let's take another look at the 4-hour chart, because I actually had 2 break-even trades there. Maybe we'll see it even more clearly on the 1-hour chart. It was here. I went long once. Then I set my stop loss to break even, which I shared with you. The second long was then triggered, and that one was also nicely in profit. And that one also got stopped out to the downside, but again I set the stop loss to break even, so both positions ended up break even here. Then we have Sui. Sui wasn't so great. A break even trade, 2 losing trades, so I had placed this position and unfortunately it got triggered twice, but that's just part of trading. Yes, of course, I'm being completely transparent with you, and HBAR, which I also set here, went really well into profit, but I hadn't set my stop loss to break even yet, and then it ended up as a loss. And that's it for all the losing trades. So overall, there were just 3 losing trades, which I'm happy to accept. That's just part of the overall performance. If we look at what I currently have with Bitcoin, these 3 losing trades are actually pretty easy to accept given the current market phase. It's a pity that I didn't catch the short trade on Bitcoin. We had a small one, which I still took. But I didn't quite reach the second one, and the last short trade, which I also would have liked to take, unfortunately wasn't triggered according to Fibonacci. So that means I'm waiting now. I'm definitely not going to enter another short position because we're at a strong low. I would only do that on a reversal when we have another Fibonacci entry. And that's also where, if the price should recover, I would close a position. My current small long positions, which I showed on Bitunix, but otherwise I'm just going to stay a bit patient for now. I have to be honest, I don't want to overtrade right now. Instead, I'll stay patient and have set up my positions exactly at these 0.5 and 0.618 levels. I want to show you something about Ethereum before we finish, because I have this opportunity. Sorry, let me switch to a cleaner chart. What's super interesting with Ethereum, and let's take another quick look, is that the first Ethereum trade, if you remember why I'm already long there, was because I set my Fibonacci right here. Let me draw it again to show you exactly where. The 0.5 level was triggered. Unfortunately, that was a stop loss, but I'm still in my position at the 0.618 level, which is a long position and is meant to be held up to those price peaks of nearly 5,000 US dollars. But the second thing I've discovered now, why do I have another position set at the 0.786 level? There are 2 reasons for that. On the one hand, we have this strong volume level, but we also have, in the case of Ethereum, let me just quickly pull this up on the side, the target level has been reached. If we take into account the bear market low, which we had this year, in Ethereum's case, it really was a bear market, you have to say, and then the rise to the local highs, we've now reached the target levels. That means for me, and let me just say this again, I want to include the entire level that we've already touched on here once before. I want to bring that in again here. And if I now take this level here and my previous level here, so if I include these 2 here, then you can see that with the 0.618 and the 0.786 together, I have a correlation of the 2 Fibonacci levels, which comes together here with this support, but also with this volume area. And that's why I have placed a new position here, which I will now also enter long, or rather I already have. I can show you in the open positions at 2,746 US dollars. That is exactly within this price range here. My next long position would be waiting if we go further down. Just before that, I would set a stop loss for the current position. That way, I would have a very, very good and deep entry further down at a very strong support level. And we know how strong this level was here. And that wasn't just the case now. If we look here at exactly this level, after we had the strong sell-off, there was a very long period of consolidation before a strong breakout happened. Then we had another rejection before we went further down. Here again, strong rejection. Another correction, and then it went up. That's why I could imagine, for me personally, that exactly this level here is super interesting to consider as a possible reversal. But that's it for this video. Very quickly, a trading portfolio update, because there hasn't been anything for a while and people have been asking what's going on with the trading portfolio. It's in profit. I'm still waiting for my take profit level. I can share that with you, my take profit level here. So this is the liquidation price. Here is my take profit level at 300. Where do we have that? I've set a take profit level at around 379 US dollars, and otherwise my 3 other trading bots here are at a loss of 31, 32 and 20%, but that's not a problem. The liquidation levels are further down, so I'm letting them run. Depending on what happens next, I'll probably add some additional bots. That's it for this video. Feel free to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel. let's finally hit the next 1,000 subscriber milestone together. As you can see, I try to look at the chart very neutrally, not overall bullish, not overall bearish. Instead, I just try to take advantage of the opportunities that arise from my trading strategy. With that in mind, see you next time.